Hey there, folks. So, last episode we finished up the basic logic for setting up, well, not setting up, but for equipping items on the player character, and actually any, well, character at that point. You could use it for non humanoids if you wanted. Between that episode and now, I had done a little bit of just some background work. I was trying to work on some more buildings and just some stuff that I'm not going to record because it's very repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. And I did notice one thing. I just want to show you that here. So we're going to just in our third person map here where we're doing all our basic setup, I'm going to show you. So hop in and I'm going to filter down to our store and pay attention to actors inside. So I'm going to go over, open the door. You can see we go in, but then as I jump, we actually lose that. And there's a weird thing that happens with Unreal Engine. And I got some errors. Oh, that's complex, that's simple. There's some weird things that happen with Unreal Engine when it comes to collision volumes, and I had forgotten about that when we had set this up. So I want to fix that. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to think how to describe it. But so actually, I'll try to visualize it. Volume. If I could spell volume. I'll just use a trigger volume here. So we'll scale this up. So now the way things work with, I need to keep that selected apparently. So the way things work, that's not going to work. Let me see, sphere, add a sphere collision, trigger sphere. Yeah, no, that goes when I get it as well. Okay, so we're just going to use this tree over here. So the way the overlap events work, let's just go cube. I can just add that in real easy. So the way overlap events work is there is an event, and you have to imagine this is the colliders are like a piece of paper. So we've triggered the overlap here, and then when you completely exit the overlap of this polygon, that's an overlap ends. Now technically you are still inside the volume, but you're no longer overlapping with it because you're fully inside. And that's actually what's causing the issue we're seeing here, where when you go inside and you jump, because if we select this, interior volume and visible, if we go in, you can see it's technically hollow. We can see through it. Now, there's a bunch of different ways we could modify this. We could adjust it so that it is like multiple individual, like almost planes within sort of like a layer, that you're always going to be overlapping one of them, which is one way you can do it. Then there's another way, and actually just for the purpose of describing that, actually no, that's a little too complex to try and describe. Now, the other way you can do it is there is some code at a C++ level. And this, I believe it's exposable to blueprints, but let's actually double check before I say that. I'm going to open up our test building here. Drag this over so we have it. Is it get overlapping? Yeah, okay, so it does have it. Get overlapping actors. And you can actually filter us down to only get a particular class or subclass of actor. So with that, this is actually the approach I want to go for because it's easy to adapt. And if this becomes very resource intensive, I'll actually switch this over and we'll modify the volume mesh that's being used for the interior actor. Actually, what I'll do just quickly to show you how I noticed this is I set up no, don't want to save that. I set up a map that I'm working on for just creating some various buildings and getting their volume set up and stuff. And it's specifically these two here. because I had to go through and create custom volumes for them because they have a irregular shape for their interior. So if we set this to unlit, you can see we've got a, oh, but there you can see one of the interior volume pieces is visible. So this is actually part of the interior volume. Well, that's because it's set to being visible. That would be why. So we've got the interior volume in here, which is actually, I set it up to be made of, in this case, I think it's actually probably only 3. And I think I have to fix that. Yeah, we got a space here that's not interior. So I'm going to have to fix that one. I set it up to be made of various cubes within a single static mesh. I'm going to open it up here so we can take a look. As you can see here. So that is what we're using for the volume, and there's obviously this little step here I need to add in. Wireframe doesn't have one, so we'll show simple collision, and you can see the difference here. So the green is a simple auto-generated collision. The white is white, pink, whatever you want to call it, is the mesh that I created. And I was setting these up, and I actually noticed it was on this mesh. I started jumping. Not in here, it's in this one here. I started jumping as I was going up the stairs, because these are some of the weird things you want to do as you're dev testing. Do weird things like jump in ways you wouldn't normally expect. I probably would have noticed it without even jumping, because as soon as you get to about here, you're no longer overlapping with that bottom surface plane of your interior mesh. So, but anyways, now I've explained that, and I've already taken like 7 minutes to go through and explain what's a pretty basic principle, but I wanted to make sure everyone understood. Let's figure out how to fix it. So, we're going to close out of this. I'm going to not save that because I want to make that change in the actual blueprint, not the instance. So, now is a loud noise from my chair. Anyway, so in here, what we're going to want to do is on interior zone overlap end. This is where it is registering that an actor has left the area, and is where we're going to want to make that check. So what we're going to want to do for this, we want T array a actor pointer interior actors. And then what we want to do is we want to call its, what do we call this? Building interior volume. That's that static mesh that we were just looking at for these buildings. We want to call that get overlapping actor function. Get overlapping actors. And for that, we want to pass in interior actors as this is the array that it's going to put all the information into. And just like in that blueprint variant, we have the ability to filter. And this, what we're just going to do is go ATF character, static class. And this is just saying, okay, I only want you to give me back any actor that is a TF character. And now, it's pretty easy. We just do a check to see, okay, does that array contain this actor? Because, well, actually specifically because we're passing them back as TF actors, we're going to want to say as TF character. But the reason being for this approach, let me just put that in there. If interior actors dot contains as TF character. So what this is going to do is we're just going to return, and we don't want to execute any of the additional code. And just to explain, oh, come on, IntelliSense. So just to explain and walk through what this is doing and why. So as I was mentioning, when you're no longer overlapping with that specific edge plane of your volume, this function is called. And this will say, well, under the old code, it would say you jump inside the building. Technically, you're not inside the building, which obviously we don't want. because that's going to execute some weird code here. Well, some not weird code. That's going to execute some changes to our building insulation, which will affect the pawn in a way that we don't want, because you're going to be jumping. Well, if your character's jumping inside a building or climbs onto a table or onto a chair, it's going to change that, and you don't want that. At least I don't, because the intent of this is to say you are inside a building, so you're benefiting from the effects of this building. So when this function is called, we're saying, okay, so we've been told something has left the overlap. Let's see everything that's inside that volume still. And this can get pretty resource intensive if it's being called a lot. Now, in principle, it shouldn't be called enough to become resource intensive. If it does, then that's where I mentioned we'd go through and we would change the planes that are being, change the, mesh that is being used within the volume or for the volume, so that it's basically next to impossible for you to never be overlapping a single portion of that. But that is also potentially resource intensive, because, well, you've still got all these invisible mesh that are being generated in the world. Nanite can control a lot of it, but at the same time, well, I can't say control, but Nanite can improve that a lot, but at the same time, it's not ideal either. So this is one of those catch-22 situations. Which one is the better of the bad options? So, but anyway, so in here we're going through and we're saying, okay, give me every single actor that is considered a TF character that is inside the volume. And then we're checking to see, okay, is one of those the actor that has triggered the end overlap? If it is, okay, we don't want to remove them. So now that we've done that, and then if it isn't, we're going to say, okay, now we want to remove them. So what we're going to do, we're going to run a build. This should be pretty quick, because this build is literally just some code within a source file. So this should be very minimal compilation time here. Yep, so that worked. We're going to launch into the editor. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to throw a breakpoint here as well. No, not 9, F9. So throw that breakpoint in there. And we're going to test this out quickly just to make sure, because this is one of those things that it's going to get more complicated down the line if you're sort of not paying attention to things like this. And it's where a lot of dev testing and weird, I don't want to say destructive testing, but abusive testing, where you do things in ways that you don't think anyone would do. And that's something, again, in my software career, prior to becoming an actual professional programmer, I used to work quality assurance and was a software tester. And we did, that was actually one of the things when I led the team, is we were destructive. Because you're going to find, and there's a lot of like memes and stuff out there, users of software do things in ways that developers never expect. So that's where doing some like destructive testing as you're going through working on things is a good idea as well. So anyways, let's now test this out. So we're going to go store, filter to that, just so we have that there. Right click, play from here. Reselect the store. You can see our actors inside is 0. Open the door. So we have technically triggered that, because in here, this is something else I actually need to do. We're not having this uSphere component trigger, or a couple other things. What is this? Overlap component, other component. Oh no, that is the collision cylinder. We've stepped outside the door, the plane that's running the door, or along the front of the building. So You can see in here, so okay, we've got that. T-array and tier actors currently is empty. We grab that, and you can see it has returned one actor, our BP third person character. Well, it does contain the specific one that's just triggered this, so we're not too concerned about that. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to drop that breakpoint down to after this escape logic, and we're going to hit continue. So in here, we can run around, we can jump, and you can see we're still inside. Well, apparently actors inside, what? Okay, so that, I've got the right store selected. We're in, okay, I may have messed something up with our breakpoints there, but you can see we're inside, we're jumping around, our actors inside is not changing, we're being kept in that list. If we step out the back, oh, that may have some issue. Yeah, there we go. And I think that's also triggering based on the sphere component, this part here. So I think we need to also move that down into this section. You can see we're going to move that. So we're going to hit continue. And at that point, we're no longer inside. So let's fix that issue where the sphere component was also doing that. And I'm also, let's take a quick look at these errors. Third person, static mesh actor 41. Oh, I changed the complexity. Did not mean to do that. I was messing around with that collision mode. That's actually this one here. But the issue I was having with not being able to stay inside the building while jumping, I was doing some messing around. But now we're going to fix that issue with regards to the collision spheres keeping us inside the building. That one's pretty easy to do. Literally, we're just going to I'm trying to think on this one. Yeah. I'm trying to think actually how to do that because the because yeah, I'm just trying to think because it's going to continue to contain that. This is going to be an interesting one. So I wonder if let's see how we could do that. Do we have access to the overlapping components? Components. Actor. Okay, we do. Get overlapping components, and that's a T set of view primitive. Okay. Okay, we're going to have to move that. Actually, no. So it's ATF character. Oh, no, we don't need to do that. So we know it's containing that. So we can go as TF character. Yeah, that's what we need. So we can go as TF character, get overlapping components, and then actually I'm going to for auto C in overlap comps. I'm trying to think how we want to do this, because yeah, we've got the interaction trigger on the player character is keeping us in there, so we want to see. Yeah, okay. Bool only trigger volume equals true if C static class does not equal U sphere component static. And actually, we don't want static class, we want get class. I'm going to go only trigger volume equals false, and then we can break. That'll drop us out of the for loop because we don't need to. And then if not only trigger volume, we can return. Okay, so hopefully this works, but I'll explain what my intentions are here. So we've checked to see, okay, so the interior actors are containing our character. What we want to then do is get all of the overlapping components that our character has. And I think this is going to fail because it's going to be getting... this might need to be... Actually, no, this is going to be building interior volume, thinking about it. Because our... yeah, because our trigger volume is always going to be overlapping with something. So... okay, we'll give this a shot and see if this works. So... but yeah, so to explain while this builds... because we're actually coming close to 30 minutes here, and I did not expect this episode to last this long. So what we're doing is, okay, we've registered that a character component is leaving the building. Let's see how many components are left overlapping. Now, and this is the issue if you have multiple characters inside. But no, it's only the player character. So, yeah, the player character is the only one with that sphere collider that's causing the issue. So we'll give this another shot and see if this fixes it. If not, we'll have to address this in the next episode. But either way, let's give this a shot. So, yeah, we stepped in, stepped out. Control Z, continue. That's because our collision sphere went in, so we're going to step inside. Trigger this. Okay, so we're inside that. Okay, overlapping components. We have two. We have build mesh and the interaction trigger volume. Okay, we're going to have to do that because this right here, primary building mesh, is going to likely bail us out. So... yeah, okay. So we're going to need to grab owner. Okay, owner equals other actor. Okay, so okay, we'll give this one a shot. Because what we're doing then is we're now filtering this out by excluding. I just wonder if there's overrides on this. So anyways, just to explain while I'm doing this, we're filtering out that overlapping components to exclude anything that's not owned by the actor that's triggered the leaving the volume. So go to definition. Oh. Yeah, we'll just try that in the editor here. So, all right. There we go. Yes, I know. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that one because we don't need that right now. So go in, run in, we trigger this. Okay, so yeah, I know because it's got that W that was just put in there. So okay, let's go through. Ignore. Okay, so C. This is the primary building mesh. Okay, so that excluded it. That is our interaction trigger volume. Okay, so that failed. That is... Okay, now that's forcing us to... We're dropping out of that. This might not actually work. Because now... Oh, we're inside. No, we're still inside there. Okay, so let's walk out. Okay, so we've walked out. Overlapping components is the primary building mesh and the interaction trigger volume. Okay, so it's... Okay, and then that should, if this worked. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that breakpoint now. Did that work? Yeah. Yes, that did. Okay, so that is what I was wanting. So we're there, we're good inside, and then as soon as we step out, obviously that's still that animation blueprint issue, but okay, no, that actually achieved exactly what I was hoping for. I'm quite impressed. So with that then, folks, we'll just quickly run over what we did this episode. So this episode, pretty basic. We were just fixing an issue with our building interiors, but that is what we've done here. So the initial issue was if a character jumped or climbed on something within the interior volume of a building, that removes them from being in overlap with one of the surface planes of our volume, it would treat it as they were leaving the building. Now that is something that is just an oddity with Unreal Engine, but we needed to account for that. So what we did there is we've modified our on interior zone overlap end function to account for that. So when we register that a TF character has left an overlap state, we are checking to see, okay, so we are getting the overlapping actors. We're getting all interior actors, all actors of TF character class that are considered to still be within the bounds of the volume. We are then checking to see, do they have more than just a trigger sphere? And this is, again, like I mentioned, this is unique to the player character. There's probably other ways we could do this, and I'm going to potentially look into those. But we're getting all of the components that are overlapping with our interior volume. And we're checking to see, okay, so for each of those, if it is the owner, if the owner of that component is this actor that's triggered the event, we're going to look at it. If it's not, we're going to ignore it, because that is going to be things that are like part of the building, or it's like another actor within the building. That could be in there, because in here we've got if the interior actors contains the guy who's leaving. And then this is to make sure that it's not one of, it's like multiple other ones in there are keeping this one who's left registered as in the building. So we're checking there, and then we're checking just to make sure that it's not a sphere component, because that's what we're using for our interaction trigger. And honestly, like I said, this is only in the player character, so we may have a better way around this to exclude this portion, because that's a little bit more taxing than it should be, in my opinion, when it comes to resource consumption. But either way, so if it's registering that there is more than just the trigger volume in the overlap from that character, we're setting our little flag here for, actually we don't even need all of this. We can just go quickly refactor this. We can just return here. We don't need to do any of this. It's extra assignments we don't need. So if we're finding that the other actor that triggered this is still technically within the bounds of the interior volume, excluding a trigger sphere, we're just going to say don't do anything. So, but with that, folks, as I said, this is where I'm going to end the episode off. Thankfully, we got this all fixed. I'm still not 100% sure what the next episode is going to be going forward. I'm at this point where I'm still trying to plan a lot of stuff when it comes to the weapon side of the equipment system, because I do need to also take into consideration things like, I'm trying to think how to describe this one, like, say a bucket or a glass jar or a container that you want to use to, say, store water in. I need to try and figure out, how do I want to do that? Do I want that to be a case of where you have to put it in your hand, you approach the water and, say, use a primary attack to trigger it to, like, fill the jug, fill the glass jar, fill the bucket. So there's still a lot of things I'm planning, so I'm not sure exactly what the next episode is going to be. So I can't give you any forewarning on that one, unfortunately. But as always, folks, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, suggestions, doesn't have to be about this particular series, anything regarding C++ or programming, or just questions about Unreal, feel free to leave them in the comments below, or hop over onto Discord and you can ask the questions there. Try to answer as quickly as I can. But as always, folks, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.